All right, I think we're going to get going here. My name is Ray Hoover. I am the Director of Membership and Sponsorship at the Minnesota High Tech Association. Thank you all for taking some time out this morning to participate in the webinar. We're very excited that you can participate in the Tekne Awards this year. We're very excited to share with you what the categories are and the process this year in advance of the event in November. Today you're going to be hearing from me, Kari Toft, and Amanda Jensen at Rev Academy, who have had experience in different ways with the Tekne Awards. Kerry is a 5-year judge. She's been involved in the process for quite a few years. And Amanda has been through the process with Rev Academy as both a applicant, a finalist, and finally an award winner. They won an award last year for workforce development. So we're very excited they could join us to be able to give us some perspective on their experiences with the Tekne Awards. I want to run through quick what we're going to talk about today, and then a few housekeeping rules for everyone. What we're going to do today is try to gain a better understanding of the award categories, eligibility, rules, and application process. We have a new platform this year, so we want to make sure that everybody understands that. And we want to be able to pick up some additional insights from Kerry and from Amanda as the Tekne judge and the previous award winner. And hopefully we can cover all the key dates for this year's program. There are a couple that I really want to make sure that everybody understands. And we're also going to take a quick look at the new application platform, and then we're going to have some time for Q&A, both with Kerry and Amanda, but also at the end so we can try to answer your questions. And a few housekeeping rules before we go. My colleagues Patty and Claire at MHTA are online, and they're going to be able to answer questions while I'm giving the presentation. At the end, I think I have the ability to unmute everyone's phone line, so I'll do that at the end. But for now, what I want to do is point you towards the chat box for the GoToWebinar. In that space, you'll be able to send a question to staff. And if you do that, we'll be on hand to be able to answer your questions as they come up. If we recognize any in a particular theme, we'll make sure that we revisit that at the end in our questions. But I just want to make sure that everybody kind of sees that's an ability to ask questions as we're going along. I also want to point out that handouts are attached to the webinar, and you can download them. And they're going to be in the same space right above the chat box. And they include the application award instructions and also the award category descriptions for this year. And so we're also going to try to hand out the PowerPoint following the presentation, but we want to make sure folks can follow along with us for now. So we have 15 categories this year, and I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. The first is advanced manufacturing. Next, we have biotech and pharmaceuticals. That's a new category for us. Building design and infrastructure, clean tech energy, community impact, cybersecurity, emerging technologies. Now, in the past, we had, for example, an analytics category, but felt that including emerging technology kind of opens that award category to more opportunities. So if you want to apply with an analytics technology, for example, you'd apply there. Food and agricultural technology and health IT. IT solutions consulting. Solutions providers and consultants help to optimize client strategy and have a deep bench of experts, and that's kind of a broad category. Medical device, that's another new category for us. Science and technology startup. Software establishing, seeing speaker's notes. Okay, how about this? That one. Does that fix it for everyone? Okay, sorry about that. All right. So you don't really miss anything. All of these categories are in the notes that are downloadable in the slide here. The last three categories are software for established companies, so $50 million or less in revenue, or more than that, sorry, and software for small and growing companies, and that's less than $50 million. And the last is STEM workforce development. All right, so some key dates for us as we're looking ahead at the process here. The Tekne Award applications opened on June 11th. So they're going to be open until Friday, August 3rd, and they're going to close at midnight. We're going to have a reception for the finalists on September 26th, and that's the date that the finalists are going to be announced. So everybody who applies is more than welcome to come. That's a really great event, and we're going to have a little more information on this one a little later. And Thursday, November 29th is the actual awards gala. Very excited. Last year we had around 750 people come, and we're expecting a few more this year, but it's going to be a great event. Eligibility for the Tekne Awards. So science or technology companies and organizations doing business in Minnesota, we try to restrict it to that. However, if a company is based outside of the state, companies are still eligible to apply if the majority of the work for the product or services and the team dedicated to the project is Minnesota based. MHCA membership, though we would love if you joined, is not required to apply for a Tekne Award, and there is no application fee. For past participants, previous Tekne Award recipients are not eligible to apply with the same initiative for when they previously received an award. So if you have a piece of technology that you received an award for in a previous year, you can't apply for that again. If you weren't awarded for that piece of technology, it's actually encouraged that you can, you apply for an award again. Maybe you've gone through another year of development and have some more to share with us. So that's the second point there. Previous applications or finalists not selected as a recipient may submit a new application for the same initiative as long as the organization can demonstrate growth and improvement. So we have a new platform for applying for the Tekne Awards this year. It's called Smarter Select. In order to apply, you have to create an account. You have to make sure that you have your organization's approval, and you'll be asked to acknowledge that you have that. And then it's always strongly recommended that you kind of take an overview of the entire application. You can do a preview mode where it kind of shows all the questions, so you have an idea of what kind of questions you're going to need to answer, and you can collect some of your information. And you can begin an application, save it, and finish it at a later date. So you can actually go back to your submission over and over again. We'll only pull those on August 3rd, after August 3rd, to make sure that the judges can begin their work. So the judging will begin after the submission deadline. So if you submit your application and you decide you need to make a change, you can do so up until that point. And as a side note, the startup application has different criteria than other award applications. There are just a few different questions. So if you do an overview, preview the entire application, you may see some questions in there that you might not actually need to answer. A few rules and notes for you. You can submit up to 3 applications per organization, but all must be unique for unique pieces of technology. There's no nomination step this year. You can apply directly or refer clients instead of nominating them directly to the site to apply. And I have some notes to call out about 2 specific categories. In community impact, 2 or more parties can be involved and submit one joint application. Both nonprofit and for-profit organizations are eligible for that. And in the science and technology startup, less than $5 million in 2017 revenue are eligible. So revenue is a required field, but we want to make sure you know that it's not going to be disclosed publicly. And for that, 50% or more of the employees need to be based in Minnesota. So a few tips on applying, and we'll go through where you can post all of these things in the application. But it's always important to include specific quantifiable information. So make sure that we know exactly, kind of what parameters you're talking about your piece of technology. Any supporting materials to help the selection committee make an informed decision can be attached or linked to. So if you have a portfolio or a brochure or a testimonial, you can attach those, or if there's a video that you've produced that you want to link us to on your website or somewhere else, you can do that as well. Next, I'm going to be kicking it over to Kerry Toft, who is a longtime Tekne judge, and we're very happy she's going to be back with us again this year, and she's going to share her experience a little bit about what she looks for as she's looking through some of these applications. So Kerry, do we have you on the line here?
Yes, thank you, Ray. So I have been a Tekne judge probably for 4 to 5 years, typically in the healthcare sector. We've had few changes over the years, having small healthcare companies versus large, but I think you were saying yesterday that they're probably back into the same group. The panel members have changed a little bit over the years, but we have had a consistent group nonetheless. And I wanted to just state that what I'm going to talk about today is just my approach. I'm a technology or IT professional, so my approach is probably a little more analytical than maybe some of the other members on the panel. However, what has been really great to see is that, we really come to the same conclusion with the top three, no matter how we are looking at this. But I want to give you some specifics of how I would approach the application, and it will help you have a fuller application. So if you do review the questions ahead of time, you'll notice, for example, one of the past questions was called business impact, and I believe you probably MHTA is still applying points to these different questions. And when you look at that, business impact happened to have 20 points. Well, I will look at that area, and there are multiple questions within that area. Within that single question, there are 4 other questions. And what I've seen in the past is, people read the first one, give evidence of educational success, date, significant obstacles to overcome, blah, 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 but then they completely ignore the next 3 questions. So, I typically break down when I'm looking at an application, I may give four points for the first part of the question, 4 points for the next question, and if you don't answer those questions, I have nothing to go on to evaluate. The other things that I do is I go out and this is something that this is for more of the content for your application. I will go out and, let's say you have some spine surgery innovation that you think is different. Well, list why you think it's different, because I will go out and search the internet to see what else is out there in that type of arena. Is this really innovative? So make sure you specify why you believe your submission is unique and innovative. Let's see. I think some of the things that I've noticed in the past, the very last question, and I'm not sure if this is still the same this year, but is about project contributors. And I don't know if it's because people have fatigue by the time they get done with filling out the application, but I've seen many applications come in that are very cursory, and they maybe list names, but they don't list more detail on what did the person really contribute, and what is the impact to the industry, and why this is important. And so I think really being diligent to fully flesh out your application. Those that end up in the top 3 usually have spent time and effort filling out all the questions, and I guess that those are my comments. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to take a second and I'm going to unmute folks just so they can ask questions if they'd like to. Does anybody have any questions for Kerry? All right. If not, I'm going to keep moving on here. If you do have questions, you can submit them in the question box, and we can return to that after we're done here. Next, I have Amanda Jensen, and she is with Rev Academy. and she'll be talking a little bit about all of the things to think about as a former winner. She's going to offer another interesting perspective for us on that. So Amanda, do I have you on the line?
You do. Thank you so much, Ray. Good morning, everybody. I don't know about interesting perspectives so much, but I will offer a perspective. My organization applied for a Tekne Award over numerous years. I think one of the pieces that I would encourage all of you as future applicants to do is to continue and stay with it. We love the Tekne Awards every year that we've gone. It's been amazing. It gave us something to work toward. And our success this last year, I believe, was a result of three main things. One, that persistence that I just discussed. Every time we were told that we weren't chosen as a finalist or we didn't receive the award, we took all of that information back and we re-looked at our application and wanted to really narrow in on what we needed to revise for next time around. I think another piece of that is we also matured as an organization. We didn't have as much quantifiable information at the very beginning of our application processes. In really concrete ways. When I look at our very first application to our application from last year, there is a huge difference. Our first application, we did some really nice storytelling. We talked about why we were doing the work that we were doing and how we were doing it. But when I look at last year's, we have some really great statistics that we dug into, and we dug into a lot more detail, a lot more information than we would have otherwise. I think the third thing to keep in mind is the category for which you're applying. We started out in, I believe it was community impact category, and we doggedly stayed with that one for a while. And last year we switched up to workforce development. And I think as we learned more as an organization and as we dug more into those categories, we just saw that that was a much better fit for us. For our organization, we very much take an iterative process to everything that we do. And by that, I mean we try to be very agile and try and fail and learn from those failures and try again. And the Tekne Award process of the applying for Tekne Awards was no different for us. And I encourage all of you to stay with it and to give it a shot and then keep giving it a shot, because last year was a lot of fun for us, and it felt especially great looking at the journey we had traveled from our first application to last year.
All right, thank you, Amanda. All right, instead of opening up all the lines, let me try this time. Does anybody have any questions for Amanda? Would you mind writing in the text box to submit a question if you do? All right, I'm going to keep moving on, but we'll come back. Amanda will be here for a little bit of Q&A we'll have at the end, and if we've got any questions, we'll make sure that we refer back to her at that point. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the finalist reception at Robbins Kaplan. That's going to be the September 26th event, and generally we usually have 125 to 150 folks show up to that. And it's complimentary for all of the folks who apply for an award, but we would like to know if you're coming so we can have some ideas for planning. So that is on September 26th. So as you finish your application and engage with us on that, we'd love for you to join us on that as well. And on Thursday, November 29th, is the Tekne Awards. So they're a huge event every year. And I want to say just a couple things about that. For those of you who aren't members of MHCA and don't engage with us regularly, we work to make Minnesota a top 5 tech state, and we have kind of 4 core focus areas in our ability to impact that. And one of them is innovation. We really try to make sure that we're trying to shine a light on all the amazing things that are happening in Minnesota in the tech community. And this is one of the biggest ways we do that every year. Last year we had about 750 folks attend. And although black tie is admired, it's not required. We generally dress up for this one, but it's a way that we can show up and award innovation in Minnesota, and we really enjoy that ability. There are 3 finalists per category, and though event registration is now open, and if you purchase your ticket and then become a finalist, we'll credit the portion paid towards that. And tickets are available on the same site as applications, tekneawards.org. Individual tickets, tables of 10, VIP tables, they're all there, and there are discounts for the finalists as well. All right, so at this point, I'm going to take you through a little bit of the application process. We had a little bit of fun with this, and went through and filled out a little bit of the categories for a fake company that we decided to run. I'm going to continue an existing application. So this is a Smarter Select platform. And this is the Tekne Award page here. We've got all the categories. And if you need to start a new application, you can do that here. I've already started. So as you can see, we talked about the ability to jump back into your application and edit. So I'm going to continue an existing application. And you can see mine is right here. I haven't finished it yet. And I'm going to click into that. And I changed my name to Ray Stance because, I'm a founding member of the Ghostbusters, and that's a company I'm applying for in this scenario. So we've got 3 pages. There's a page for general information. I'm going to go back here, and if you're going to edit it again, you need to go back and click Edit Application. So it actually allows you the ability to edit some of these things. So you can see the 3 pages for this application. General information for the company. I'm going to go back to that. So it's loading right now. You can see you can fill out your information, who's applying, how we can contact you, a little description of the organization. It's a shame you can't see the logo. I've got this really great logo for my company of a ghost with a red circle with a cross through it. It's really fancy. I'm very proud of it. Twitter handle, the website, any of those sorts of things. And then you can move on to the award category. So once that's done, you can go over here. You can select the award category. I feel like my company is really best fitted for community impact. I think the technology that I have really serves the community, because if there are awards, who are you going to call? We really help clean up the streets of unwanted spooks and spirits. So I've selected my award category, and now I'm moving to the award application. And this is the page where I feel like you'll spend most of your time. And as you can see, there are point amounts here for each of these questions. And you can run through and fill all these out and refer back to it as you're filling out the award. So you can save your progress, and even if you click submit, it'll still say that you can go back in and edit. And it's not going to allow you to submit the final category or final progress until you finish all of this. And at the end here, you can see also that there's the ability to attach some files and also post some links to be able to submit to us as well. So with that, I'm going to open this up for questions. I think what I'd like to do is have folks mute themselves. Then I'm going to open up the lines, and hopefully we can do it that way. I just want to make sure we're careful about feedback. So take a second to mute your phones. I'm going to unmute your lines, and then we can start doing a little bit of Q&A. We'll leave this open for just a minute in case we're struggling to get folks the ability to ask some questions here. But you can still submit some questions on the text panel as well. But that's really all we've got for you. So if you don't have any questions, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we're very excited that you're looking at applying for this year's Tekne Awards. And we very much hope to see you at the awards on November 29th. And hopefully if you submit an application, we can see you at the Finalists Reception as well. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll stay on the line for a few more minutes in case anybody's got any additional questions.
Hey guys, this is Ben Wallace with 75F.
Hey, Ben.
How you doing? I've got a quick question. I had asked some in the text section, but can you give a little bit of clarity about what define, how much differentiation is needed for if you're going to apply to multiple categories? And I understand it's got to be a different solution, or I guess does it have to be a different project from a case standpoint? Can you help draw the lines, I guess, where how much differentiation is needed in or between categories if you're going to enter multiples?
Hey, this is Patty Caruso. I'll just jump in.
Patty.
Ben, you and I can maybe talk about this
Okay.
with Claire as well. So basically what we're saying is that you can't take the same application, submit it in multiple things. Like if you can't decide what category, you can't take that same project and submit it multiple times. You need to declare and make a decision. So depending on what it is that you're talking about, if there's different aspects of a solution that might apply in different ways that you're featuring and you're writing up very specific cases for those, that might be acceptable. So, but we should talk about that before you start the process and go down the road too far.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks.
So this is Kerry, and in the silence, I'm going to give a shameless plug. This is one of the best events of all year, I think, for Minnesota technology. I equate it, Margaret and I have continued to try to keep this a very fun, formal, but it's like the Oscars for IT. So I'm from southern Minnesota, and I drive up every year because I think this is such a great event. So I hope people realize that, if you are a top three, you do get a lot of advertising afterwards. So it's well worth, I think, the time and effort put in to submit an application.
All right, we are going to hang out here and answer any specific questions, but I just want to thank everybody again, and I think we'll call it and say we're good. Thank you all for hanging out with us this morning and for learning a little more about the application process for the Tekne Awards. As Kerry said, yeah, we're very excited about it this year. It's a great event, and we hope to see you all there.